So in 1998 there was a short-lived anime about a kid named Yugi that awakened a dark alter ego that solved various conflicts by competing in what were called shadow games. The show featured many different games for the characters to participate in, but the most popular was called Duel Monsters. Duel Monsters was a card game that was made for the series and featured many different monsters on the cards. Now this anime only aired for one season and was given a short movie, but it would go on to be known as what fans have dubbed Season 0, the first anime iteration of the Yu-Gi-Oh manga. Now as a kid in the early 2000s, Yu-Gi-Oh had me in a fucking chokehold. I'd turn on toasted TV every morning while I ate breakfast and watched the anime, then I'd walk my ass to school just to play the card game with my classmates. I probably don't need to, but for those of you who don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh is a very popular series that began in 1996 as a manga created by Kazuki Takahashi. The series was later developed into numerous animes and games, and eventually led to the creation of the Yu-Gi-Oh trading card game. Now, I absolutely adored Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was a weird little kid, so naturally I formed a connection with one card in particular, Kuriboh. I carried this card around with me everywhere, and acted like it was my very own spirit guide. With how much I loved Kuriboh, I realised I didn't know a whole lot about its history or its inspiration, so I looked into it a little bit. Kuriboh first appeared 25 years ago in the Yu-Gi-Oh manga chapter 67, titled Ultimate Great Moth. This chapter was released in the Weekly Shonen Jump in February of 1998. This chapter being the first duel between Yugi and Weevil. Kuriboh would later go on to become a pseudo-mascot for the series, usually having a special bond with the main character of each series. Starting off with the original, we had Yugi and Kuriboh, GX had Jaden and Winged Kuriboh, 5Ds had Yusei and Junk Kuriboh in his deck, and so on and so forth. Every generation of Yu-Gi-Oh had some variation of Kuriboh, resulting in 30 different forms of Kuriboh, and here they are in alphabetical order. Ankh Kuriboh, Astral Kuriboh, Clear Kuriboh, Detonating Kuriboh, Galactic Kuriboh, Junk Kuriboh, Kuri Babylon, Kuri Ba, Kuri Bandit, Kuri B, Kuri Bay, Kuriboh, Kuri Born, Kuri Bon, Kuri Boo, Kuri Photon, Kuri Vault, Ling Kuriboh, Link Kuriboh, Magic Kuriboh, Perform Pal Barrow Kuriboh, Perform Pal Classic Kuriboh, Perform Pal Kuri Bobble, Rainbow Kuriboh, Relink Kuriboh, Sphere Kuriboh, Winged Kuriboh, and Winged Kuriboh level 6, 9, and 10. Now that's a lot of Kuriboh, but where does this furry fucker come from? Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of information when it comes to Takahashi's inspirations for Yu-Gi-Oh, but we do know that he enjoyed a number of anime and manga. With this being said, I couldn't help but notice the striking similarity that Kuriboh shares with another character in a very well-known manga called GeGeGe no鬼太郎. GeGeGe no鬼太郎is a series that began in 1960 that's best well known for its popularization of monsters in Japanese folklore called yokai. The series has had quite a few anime adaptations and is regarded as one of the most influential manga of all time. The series features a ton of different yokai in all shapes and sizes, but the one that I want to talk about is known as Maruge. This is a picture of Maruge, and if you ask me, he looks a lot like the main man Kuriboh. But that's just a coincidence, right? Well, for a bit of history, Maruge first appeared in Kitarō in 1968 in the Gator Battle chapter of the manga, and later appeared in the anime that same year. He'd also appear in every single adaptation of the series since. There was a series of Kitarō that ran from 1996 to 1998, where Maruge looked eerily similar to Kuriboh. Now, I'm not saying that Maruge was 100% the inspiration of Kuriboh, but given how popular GeGeGe no鬼太郎has been, there's a good chance that Takahashi may have seen this little guy and got the inspiration. But that also adds to the mystery and makes a new question: where does Maruge come from? Now, GeGeGe no Kitaro features a lot of recognizable yokai, but as far as I can tell, Maruge is an original creation made for the series. In his first appearance, it's revealed that Maruge is able to hide his eyes and limbs, and people would mistake him for a piggy bank going as far back as the Edo period. Now, this alone isn't a lot, but it had me thinking about different yokai that Maruge may have had some similarities with. What if instead of imitating a piggy bank, he actually was a piggy bank? In Japanese folklore, there are quite a few instances of inanimate objects coming to life and becoming yokai. This class of yokai are called Tsukumogami. In most lore, the transition from inanimate object to Tsukumogami occurs around the object's 100th year of service. The first stories of Tsukumogami occurred during the Heian period and later gained popularity during the Edo period. The initial spread of Tsukumogami stories coincided with the growing Shingon sect of Buddhism. The Shingon sect stresses that enlightenment and Buddhahood are attainable within your body, and that there's an intrinsic enlightenment within all beings and objects. One of the earliest records of Tsukumogami demonstrates this belief to a T. Tsukumogami Emaki, or the Tsukumogami picture scroll, tells the story of numerous household tools that are thrown away with disregard and gain souls. These tools, not too happy with how they were treated, turn on their original owners in a bloodthirsty display. After getting revenge, they then go and take pleasure in doing whatever they please, causing general mayhem in 10th century Japan. After some time, the band of objects run into a group of people who conduct prayers aimed at exorcising them. The objects, with not too many options left at this point, turn to religion and begin following the practices of Buddhism and eventually gain enlightenment. This story pretty much told people that if these demonic and vengeful objects could gain enlightenment, that you can too. This early story would lay the basework for what Tsukumogami would go on to be known as: inanimate objects that reached a certain age and were discarded without care, becoming monsters. With the passage of time, the portrayal of Tsukumogami distanced themselves from the original Buddhist teachings and were less bloodthirsty, becoming mostly harmless, mischievous beings who only sought the attention of their owners. Which is kind of sad. The Tsukumogami only act out because they were mistreated and only want the love and attention that they deserve. I don't know, just something to think about. But during the Edo period, legends and stories of the Tsukumogami reached a new height. Numerous stories find their origin in this era, with heaps of books being written spreading the stories of all kinds of Tsukumogami. According to Komatsu Kazuhiro, by this time the portrayals of Tsukumogami were completely cut off from any actual belief, just created for entertainment purposes. A few of the more popular and recognizable Tsukumogami include the Bakezori, an animated sandal with 2 arms, 2 legs, and 1 eye; the Chochinobake, an animated paper lantern with 1 eye and a giant mouth; and then finally the Kasa Obake, a paper umbrella with 1 eye, 2 arms, and a leg, and a very long tongue. Even apart from traditional beliefs, Tsukumogami are very well known in Japanese pop culture. Recently, Tsukumogami have appeared prominently in numerous forms of media, including the previously mentioned GeGe no Kitaro, Yokai Watch, Okami, Ghostwire Tokyo, and even featured in a few levels of Super Mario. With all this being said, I have no real proof that Kuriboh is tied to Tsukumogami in any way whatsoever, and the connection is very loose at best. But given how popular Kitarō has been, I think that it's pretty plausible that Kazuki Takahashi at least knew of the character. But that's just a theory, an anime, manga, trading card game theory. Whether or not this theory is correct or a stretch at best. Hopefully you learned a little bit about some folklore. That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you later. Have a good one.